how can we reach to enlightenment with postures of yoga asanas. The whole purpose of the path to self-discovery, self-realization, the enlightenment as we call it, is that we will be awakened into a mind state that we realize that we're God in drag. We realize that we are one with everything. We are just one. And everything around us is just another shape, it's another form of life. A dog, plant, another human being. So that's the path to self-discovery, self-realization. But how can these postures are part of the path to self-discovery, self-realization? So the yoga, it's an inner practice. It starts from you working on yourself, your reaction towards the outside world, and towards the inside world. And then you welcome to this realization that you're one, right? So the first thing is that you got to work on these two inner and outer practices, especially starting with outer practices. So this internal practice is the way that you're behaving, reacting towards yourself. How are you? How is your relationship towards yourself and to your body? Which your body is the vessel to the outside world. So what you should do is that connect to the deepest part of your body, of your vessel, of your existence. And through layers of body, which are the physical body, the emotional body, the intelligent body, and the more subtle you get, the more subtle the practice would be. And the deeper that you go, the deepest part of yourself you can reach. And you will recognize your mind patterns and conditioning, relieved from what happened even in your DNA. You will be cleared out of this samskaras. They are very sticky stuff. There are the things that are in your subconscious mind, in your DNA, and you have no control over them. And the deeper and deeper your yoga practice will go, you will reach to these parts that are happening subconsciously, that it's your reaction towards the outside world and your inside world. So these yoga postures will allow you through time to opening this connective tissue which is in the physical body, in the physical form. And these samskaras, these conditioning, these patterns are actually stored in the body. Because if you think about it, when something happens to a person, an experience, some sort of negative experience, or some sort of trauma, or some emotional realization, some lesson, and these will never leave the body at all. If you have a bad experience with them, your body will store them in the connective tissue because you're not reaching to that experience ever, you know. Those are the body parts that you will not using at all. So the body is so intelligent that will store all of that emotional baggage out of that feeling into that part of your body. Like, for example, our shame, fear, guilt, stress, and anxieties all of them goes into the hip area. That's why most of the people, when they start practicing some poses like Virabhadrasana, the warrior poses, and they lower down the legs, lower down the hip, and they keep breathing towards the as we know, the psoas muscle, which connects the lower body to the upper body. When they breathe into that area, some sort of emotional reaction will come up later on that day, or just in the following days. It depends. So the more that you open that part of your body that has some emotional baggage stored in them, you will open them more. You have to get rid of them. Your body should be, your physical body, your physical form should be clear out of all of this emotional luggage that you don't need. And the deeper you go, you will reach to the deepest parts. Some stuff that happened in your childhood. Someone told you something and it will build some chain of reactions into your mind, and now you're doing what you're doing in the way that you're doing it now. So the ultimate purpose of the yoga postures would be to make you at ease in uncomfortable situations, and make you realize that you just have to breathe in no matter what kind of uncomfortable position it is. Through asana, you can clear out the body, and it will make your body stronger. It will make your inner self stronger. And this strength has a direct relation into the subtle body that we're talking. When you start doing the postures and you start clearing out the connective tissue and you start reaching to the flow of life force, as we call it, the prana, as you reach to that state that you can harvest prana and you can use it in a way in your life, let's say. When you access to that point, your life will flow easier. You make better decisions. Your mind is clear. Not much will come up when you starting your meditation practice. This is also another one. There are many purposes of the yoga practice. Another one is the toxins, let's say, will get out of your system, get out of the body. These toxins are the kamas, as Bhagavad Gita calls them. These are the impurities, and these are the desires, pleasure, anger, emotional attachments, sexual attachments that we all have in our bodies, in our mind. So through the asana practice, actually, you can, by the sweat that it will give you, you can burn all of that. Through time, all of this toxin from the mind will be pured. If you're lucky and if you're sincere in your yoga practice. So, considering the greater purpose of these yoga asanas, which are purification of the body and mind, and reaching to a deep level of this clarification, which is the idea that you're separate from the world around you, which is like it's centered in some deep parts of ourselves. And we have to remember that that's where you can say that's when we are awake. And these are just words, these are just knowledge transmitted through person to person, or through teachers to the students, or just existing in this world of, in the Akashic records, let's say. So, it is something that you already know. It is within you. It just has to be awakened. And this is not something mystical anymore, because we know it already. We heard it already. There are many great teachers came and tell us about this. So we all know that. We all know that we are not this body, we are not our name, our job, our title, who we think we are. Series, like a package of personality, as we call it. So we are not this behavioral patterns that we identify ourselves with. And the highest purpose of yoga is being awakened to that state, that you are one. We all are one. So the greater purpose of the asana practice is reaching you to some state and giving you some disciplinary practice for you to keep showing up for yourself. And one of the best practices that can actually help you in this path, and it is hard work, but with your dedication and determination and discipline, you can get to this purification through Ashtangayoga. So this Ashtangayoga is a set of practices, which they call it 8 limbs of practice. Okay, Ashta means 8, and Nga means path, 8 paths of yoga. So this starts with yamas and niyamas. You basically start the practice from reacting and responding to the outside world, and the things you should do to others, you should not do to others, and the things that you should do to yourself and you should not do to yourself. These are just moral codes. It's more like a guidance, and it's timeless, you know. It is timeless because any era that you're living, this is going to stay a truthful fact. The third limb is the yoga posture, which we explained. It will help you for the impurities of the body and the mind, and it will help you, make you stronger, and make you have a sadhana. You can have any form of sadhanas. You can start just chanting, meditating. You can do an asana practice. You can do a pranayama practice, which is just breathing practices. You can have all forms of sadhanas, but the one spiritual ritual is called sadhana. The fourth limb is pranayama. Pranayama is the breath. So we're slowly getting close to those subtle parts of our existence, right? We start from our reactions, our mind, let's say, the unconditioned mind, to the connective tissue, to the body, and we reach to the breath. Breath is the subtle tool. Breath is the connection between you and that state of meditative state, the conscious and aware state. And it has a power. This is the only thing constantly changing in the body. Pranayama is technically the life force. The breath is the life force. So you will learn slowly how to harvest the breath, how to harvest this pranayama, this life force inside your body. And the more life force that you have, the more youthful you will be, and your mind is more clear when you're breathing consciously and correctly and fully and aware. Here, there's a circle happening. So through these 4 limbs, you keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it until you learn this will. You learn how does it work. So every time you stuck somewhere, in the body, you come to the mind. Every time you're stuck somewhere in the mind, you come to the body. So this is a wheel, and it turns and turns, and you have to keep working on that. So you have to keep working on your mind and your body until it reaches to a state that is purified enough, and you're almost ready to start the internal practices, which is the last 4 limbs. The 5th limb is pratyahara. Pratyahara is a state of separating the body and the mind. Okay? Separating the emotional intelligence from the body. Separating the gross matter from the subtle matter. So pratyahara is the connection between outer world practices and inner world practices. And it is a very important one. This is now the practices are getting more subtle and subtle. You don't need movement, you don't need titles, you don't need instructions that much to know where do you want to go. And actually, where do you want to go is outer world. No one can explain it to you. You will get there. The last 3 limbs are connected to each other. One will lead to another. Is dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So dharana is the concentration state of the mind. You will learn how to concentrate your mind on some subject like absolute truth. What is the truth? Which is the answer to the 5 questions that we always ask. And the path of yoga begins, the spiritual practice will begins. Who am I? What am I doing in this world? Why there's suffering? What's after death? You know, these questions. And you will focus on that. You will learn to focus on that. Dhyana is the meditation state, which for extension of time, you're focused, you're meditating on this absolute truth. And samadhi is the absorption part. Samadhi is this state of oneness when you're not separated from anything, when you're everything. Samadhi state is a state that mind does not function in a normal realm. You will become one with the absolute truth. And there are states into it, and that will be another series of conversations probably. So this is the path to enlightenment, and this is how the yoga postures, the yoga asanas, can help you get through that. As you see, the yoga asana is just one very small part of a very large scale internal life practice. I hope that you enjoyed this talk, and Shanti everyone.